Hey everybody, Dirty Dan here. Alrighty everybody, this one's been in the works for a while, so kick back, relax, and enjoy the video. Rivarossi, probably one of the most well-known brands in model railroading. Without some of their advancements in tooling and mass production, the hobby would definitely not be where it is today. Being around since the 1950s, Rivarossi has made a massive array of motive power over the years. Most notably, Rivarossi is known for producing their iconic 442 A-Class Hiawatha. Being produced so early and being so iconic, these locomotives are now regarded as holy grails for Rivarossi collectors. These iconic models weren't the only Atlantics that Rivarossi was producing at the time. Introduced in 1952, Rivarossi began producing their A6 class Southern Pacific Atlantic. Sharing similar DNA with the Hiawatha, these locomotives used Bakelite shells along with Zamac drive components, including the frame, cylinders, lead truck, trailing truck, pilot, and tender frame. Being primarily based with zinc, Zamac is prone to what I've called the Gray Death, or many others call zinc rot. This condition plagues a massive majority of surviving Rivarossi locomotives today, and after it's set in, there's no way to stop it. This condition has now left anything plagued by it extremely difficult to repair. The only way to repair zinc rot is to replace the affected parts with pieces that have been unplagued. This makes repairs extremely difficult, if not impossible, for some. Now that we've gone through the history, and also the dangers of zinc rot, let's take a look at how I ended up with the locomotive I'm featuring today. In late November of 2022, a listing on eBay popped up in my Discord server. This lot featured two Aristocraft pieces, alongside a near unrecognizable to the untrained eye Rivarossi Atlantic. How this locomotive ended up in such poor condition is still a mystery to this day. Although the locomotive had severe cosmetic damage, incredibly the original frame seemed to be intact. Being one of the weakest points in these locomotives, it's surely a miracle that the frame had survived till this point. Also worthy of note is the fact that this Atlantic is one of the very first generations, using the ball bearing square motor that was also used in the Hiawatha. While in extremely poor condition, I decided to take a chance on this lot for only $12.50. I made sure to inform the seller of the fragility of this locomotive, and he assured me that he would pack it well. Little did I know what was going to show up at my doorstep a week later. While both Aristocraft pieces arrived mainly unharmed, the Rivarossi Atlantic got completely hammered in shipping. Decorating the bubble wrap was little pieces of plastic alongside the entire side of the cab. The thick Bakelite shell had been broken into two separate pieces, which is almost unheard of. Worst of all, the one seemingly intact piece of the locomotive, the frame, had been completely shattered. One of the worst realizations I had come to is the frame had split in the worst possible spot, right above the front driving axle. Frustrated with the even poorer condition the locomotive arrived in, I contacted the seller. After sending pictures of the completely destroyed locomotive, thankfully I received a full refund. The first thing I did after learning the news of the frame being broken was strengthen it with a little bit of superglue to hopefully save it. After speaking with my Rivarossi collector friend Will, he informed me that this repair would be near impossible. But fortunately for this Atlantic, its days were not over, and overnight I began to hatch my plan to rescue it. I began with the most serious issue in my way, the split in the frame right above the front driving axle. In order to support the weight of the locomotive, as well as support the force applied from the front driving axle, two metal plates would need to be fabricated and epoxied in order to hold it all together. I began the process by completely stripping down the entire locomotive. I had to be incredibly cautious not to damage any of the original components. Once I had isolated the damaged section, I began to put my plan into action. The first part of the process was scoring the original Zamac frame so that the adhesive I would be using would stick. As you can see here, not only the front had been damaged, the rear half had been snapped off into multiple separate pieces. After the prep work was out of the way, I could begin to fabricate one of the two metal plates that would be needed. After removing the necessary material, I was able to put it in for a test fit. Once I had made sure that the plate fit and everything lined up as it should, I applied the epoxy and hoped. While waiting for the epoxy to cure, I began to reconstruct the back half. Here you can see two small strips of metal that I added for extra strength. Afterwards, I went on to assemble the last few remaining pieces. And finally, it was time to let the epoxy cure overnight. When I woke up the next morning, I had no clue what was in store for me. The operation was a complete success and the frame was in one piece again. I immediately got to work by disassembling the rods and taking them off the drivers. I also removed the worm gear cover and proceeded to lubricate it for the first time in decades. After some careful cleaning work, I was able to remove some of the horrendous white paint from the drivers. And after some careful reassembly, the moment of truth had finally come. Rivarossi Atlantic test. 3, 2, 1. It fucking works! Almost as if it had risen from the dead, this Atlantic just refused to die. With the finish line in sight, bit by bit and piece by piece, the locomotive finally began to come back together. Once I had finished with the drive of the locomotive, it was time to move on to reconstructing the original shell. Hidden away underneath a thick layer of black paint was the original number 3000. After I had cleaned all the components, I slowly began reassembling the shell. After sourcing a proper original tender from my stockpile, it was time to reunite the two. And now, without any further ado, I present to you all the most challenging repair I've ever undertaken. Well, it's been over an entire year since I got this locomotive and performed all the work that you saw in this video. And this engine is still my most difficult repair to date. This is probably one of the most interesting looking locomotives I have. It is truly a testament to Rivarossi's engineering. This engine is just incredible, like just wow. Not only is it an amazing engine, but it's incredible that I was able to get it running. I honestly still am surprised to this day. I really don't know how I did it. At some point, I'd like to get a matching tender that looks better behind it, but you know what? I think it looks great. I think it looks awesome because it really tells a story. I don't think I can ever bring myself to part this engine out, even though I've been hinted at and that's been thrown around before. But this engine is just too unique and too interesting looking to take it apart. And I know that's going to irk a lot of people. A lot of people will even be questioning why I wasted my time on this. Well, here's what I think. I don't think I wasted any time on this, actually. I think I had a lot of fun doing this. And let's all be honest here. That's what it's all about. It's about having fun. And did I ruin anything? Actually, I didn't ruin anything at all. This engine's all original. All the parts on it are all from when I got it. I think there was like, the only replacement parts is just the metal plates that I put in it. That's it. This engine's running completely off of the original drivetrain that was destroyed in shipping. It's really an incredible locomotive. I don't think I can stress that enough. And I'm so happy I finally got to make this video on it. This is by far one of the most anticipated videos I've wanted to make. I've had this engine sitting around and I pass by it on a weekly basis and just look at it and, you know, want to make a video on it. Well, now I finally have, and I'm so glad I was able to share this all with you. So what's the plan for it? Well, I think I'm going to keep it exactly like it is, just like I said previously. I think I'm going to keep it in the exact condition that it's in and display it from now on and run it and show it off to people and just show it as a testament to not only Rivarossi's engineering, but the abilities that I've been able to acquire in this hobby. It's truly, truly an engineering marvel, and it's just a miracle that this engine is even here, because I can guarantee you anyone else who would have got this would have parted it out the instant they got it, or used it as a scrap display, or painted it rusty and made it look like an old steam engine. Well, that's not what we do here on this channel, is it? But anyways, thank you folks for watching this video. You guys absolutely blew me away with the performance of the last video, and I think a lot of people really enjoyed that video, so it inspired me to make this. So, I genuinely hope you all enjoyed this video. If you ever happen to find one of these, I wish you the best of luck. Please be very careful with them. These are not toys. These are models. These are very expensive models, actually. They're very hard to get. The parts aren't easy to get. And if you happen to find one, honestly contact me, because I would love to have more of them. They're super cool. And whichever ones I wouldn't want to have, I have people who'd love to have some. So anyways, thank you guys again for watching. And thank you for all the support. And I'll see you next time for the next miracle.